Hunted by a job scam. The true story of America's Craigslist killer. The first thing the police saw sent chills through everyone working the case. 3 men had vanished in Ohio after answering what seemed like normal job ads online. They were all told the same thing. Good pay, work helping on a farm, live on location. They met the man in a diner. They smiled, talked, and agreed to go see the job site. Then they disappeared without a trace. No calls back, no texts. Just gone. Families reported them missing, but there were no clues, no witnesses, nothing. Until one of the men's girlfriends started to notice something strange about the last message he sent. That message was the key to a terrifying truth that would unravel everything. The police were about to uncover something far darker than a missing persons case. What they found would shock the entire nation, and it all began with a simple job offer. It all started with a website, Craigslist, where people look for apartments, furniture, dates, and sometimes work. In 2011, Richard James Beasley, a man in Ohio with no steady income, started posting ads that looked innocent. He offered realistic-sounding jobs, work on a farm, good money, room included. Several men in their 20s and 30s saw his posts and thought they had found a chance to change their life. They replied, and Beasley arranged to meet them. That seemed normal. People do job interviews every day. But this was no job interview. The first victim, David Powley, met Beasley at a diner, just like he would meet any new employer. They ate breakfast, they talked about work. Powley believed he was about to start a job that would help him pay rent and bills. After the meal, Beasley offered to show David the land where the work was supposed to be. David agreed. Then they left together in Beasley's truck. That was the last time anyone ever saw David alive. Hours turned into days, days into a week. No one heard from him again. Weeks later, his family reported him missing, but without any evidence or proof of foul play. Police didn't know if he left on his own, had an accident, or something much worse. Then, the second disappearance happened. The same pattern played out again with Timothy Kern, another man who had responded to the same job listing. Timothy met Beasley in a town cafe. They talked and laughed about life and work. Timothy even sent a text to his sister saying he was excited about the new opportunity. But like David, he disappeared. His phone went silent. His car was gone. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. Friends and family were frantic, wondering why 2 men who knew each other's lives well could disappear within a few weeks of answering a job ad. That was when the police started to see a connection, a dangerous pattern, but they still did not know who was behind it. Then, a third man vanished. The third disappearance made everything impossible to ignore. Ralph Geiger, responding to the same job offer, met Beasley late one afternoon. Ralph's best friend remembered how Ralph said, "This one sounds real. I think I can make it work." He waved goodbye and got into the car with Richard Beasley, but he never came home. The talk online, the missing persons reports, and the unanswered phone calls pushed police into full investigation mode. Now, detectives were certain they were dealing with something sinister, but they still didn't know the face of the man behind the disappearances. Detectives dug deeper. Every victim had a common thread. They were all lured by the promise of a good job. Every meeting happened in public places. No signs of struggle were ever seen. It looked like the victims left on their own will, but they never came back. The shock of that realization hit hard. Someone was using fake job offers as bait, and the man behind those offers was playing a deadly game that no one had seen coming. Not until it was almost too late. But then, something unexpected happened. A survivor came forward, and everything changed. What he revealed would put the man responsible directly in the crosshairs of justice.
And that's where this chapter ends. A survivor came forward with a story no one expected, one that would link all the missing men to one person, Richard Beasley. In the next chapter, police would race against time to capture him before more lives were lost. But would they succeed? Stay tuned to find out what happened next. The call came in late at night. A young man, shaken and trembling, told the police he had narrowly escaped a fate that claimed the lives of 3 other men. His name was John Sturgeon, and he had responded to one of Beasley's ads, thinking it was a real job opportunity. What he described sent chills down every officer's spine. He had met Beasley at a diner, just like the others, and had been offered a ride to the farm where he would supposedly start work. But something felt off immediately. Beasley was polite, calm, almost too casual. When they drove out of town, Beasley's questions became personal, probing about John's home, family, and finances. Then the true horror became clear. The so-called job offer was a trap. John realized he was being lured into a situation far more dangerous than he could have imagined. Beasley's demeanor shifted subtly but unmistakably. The truck turned onto a deserted rural road. Fences, fields, and empty barns stretched for miles. John noticed items in the back of the truck, ropes, chains, and tools that had no business being there. Panic surged through him, but he kept his voice calm, pretending to go along with Beasley's plan. Every instinct screamed that he had to escape, yet every option seemed blocked. This man, who had seemed normal and trustworthy just moments ago, was a predator. The trap had been set, and John had unknowingly walked right into it. But John was smart and careful. He waited until Beasley briefly stopped at a gas station to refuel. While Beasley was inside paying, John slipped from the truck unnoticed and ran into the night. He flagged down a passing driver and called the police. The story he told was harrowing, not just about the jab lures, but about the systematic way Beasley targeted his victims. Each ad was carefully written to appeal to specific types of men, those who were lonely, struggling financially, or seeking adventure. John's escape became the turning point. Finally, authorities had someone who could describe Beasley's appearance, vehicle, and method. But the clock was ticking. Beasley was still out there, and police feared he might strike again. With John's testimony, investigators began connecting the dots. They discovered that the disappearances of David Powley, Timothy Kern, and Ralph Deiger were not random. All three had answered similar ads and had been picked up by Beasley in similar locations. Each meeting started the same: friendly conversation, casual planning, then sudden isolation in remote areas. The killer's strategy was frighteningly methodical. He exploited trust, manipulated expectations, and preyed on hope. And worst of all, there were likely other victims whose disappearances had never been reported. Detectives realized they were dealing with a man who could strike at any time, anywhere. The investigation intensified. Police combed through Craigslist posts, surveillance footage, gas station records, and phone data. They learned that Beasley had committed multiple crimes over a long period, carefully avoiding suspicion by making his meetings appear ordinary. Each victim had unknowingly followed the same deadly pattern: responding to an ad, trusting a stranger, getting into a vehicle, and then vanishing. Detectives also discovered that Beasley had a criminal history, prior arrests for theft and assault, but nothing that had suggested he was capable of orchestrating such calculated abductions. It was a terrifying reminder of how someone could blend into society while hiding a monstrous side. As authorities closed in, Beasley became more cautious. He started changing his ads more frequently, moving meetings to different towns, and using new vehicles to avoid detection. Police knew they had to act fast before more men fell into the trap. A nationwide alert went out, warning people to be cautious about responding to suspicious job offers. Families of missing men were interviewed extensively, and investigators set up a sting operation to catch Beasley in the act. Every lead, every scrap of information became crucial. And then, a shocking twist occurred. Beasley appeared to know that police were watching. He vanished from his last known location, leaving a trail of uncertainty and terror behind him.
But even as the manhunt intensified, one horrifying fact remained. Beasley had not only kidnapped, but murdered several of his victims. Forensic evidence confirmed that David Pauly and Timothy Kern had been killed shortly after their abductions. Ralph Geiger's remains were found in a shallow grave months later. The brutality of the crimes stunned investigators and the public alike. It was clear that Beasley's fake job offer was not just a lure, it was the first step in a carefully planned sequence of control, manipulation, and murder. And even with the evidence piling up, the possibility of more victims haunted the authorities. The trap had been exposed, the victims' stories were known, and the manhunt was reaching its peak.
But Beasley was still at large, dangerous, and unpredictable. In the next chapter, police would finally close in on him, leading to a confrontation that would uncover shocking truths about the scope of his crimes and the terrifying mind behind the abductions. What they found would reveal how far one man could go to manipulate and destroy lives, and the chilling final steps of his deadly game. The manhunt for Richard Beasley had become one of the most intense in Ohio history. Police knew they were dealing with a predator who was careful, cunning, and violent. Every lead had to be followed, every tip investigated, and every scrap of evidence analyzed. Detectives coordinated with local authorities across multiple counties, checking surveillance footage, phone records, and traffic cameras. They knew time was running out. Beasley was on the move, and his history of luring victims with fake job offers made every public encounter dangerous. Families of the missing men were desperate for answers, and the fear of another abduction hung over the entire region like a dark cloud. Finally, a breakthrough came when investigators traced one of Beasley's recent movements through surveillance at a rural gas station. A man matching his description had been seen purchasing supplies and driving a distinctive truck. Officers quickly organized a sting operation, hoping to catch him in the act before he could strike again. The tension was unbearable. The team knew that approaching him could be deadly. Beasley had already shown he was willing to kill to maintain control, and they had to be careful. Every detail had to be perfect. As they closed in on his location, the detectives felt the weight of responsibility. They were racing against time to stop a man who had already destroyed multiple lives. When they finally confronted Beasley, the scene was chilling. He was alone, apparently unaware of the trap closing around him. Officers approached with caution, weapons drawn, ready for any sudden move. Beasley's calm demeanor hid the threat he posed. In a matter of minutes, he was handcuffed and placed into custody, but the terror of his crimes hung in the air. Investigators knew the worst was still ahead, piecing together the full extent of his abductions and murders and uncovering any additional victims who might have fallen into his trap. Each step of the investigation revealed more evidence of how methodical and manipulative he had been, from luring men with false promises to isolating them in remote locations and leaving death in his wake. In the weeks that followed, forensic teams uncovered the remains of David Pauley, Timothy Kern, and Ralph Geiger, confirming the horrifying fate of the men Beasley had targeted. Autopsies revealed how carefully he had planned each crime, making it appear as if the victims had vanished voluntarily. Investigators realized that Beasley had not only preyed on vulnerable men, but had done so repeatedly, using the same strategy to evade detection. The thought that a predator could operate in plain sight, hiding behind something as ordinary as a job offer, sent shockwaves through the community and the nation. Families struggled to comprehend how someone could manipulate trust and disguise malice with such precision. As the trial approached, the courtroom became a stage for the full scale of Beasley's crimes. Prosecutors laid out every detail: the fake job postings, the disappearances, the abductions, and the murders. Survivors like John Sturgeon provided key testimony describing the manipulation, fear, and control Beasley had exerted over them. The stories of families who lost loved ones brought the horror of his crimes into sharp focus. The evidence was overwhelming, and the jury quickly understood that Beasley was a calculating, dangerous individual who had orchestrated a deadly trap with chilling efficiency. The psychological impact of his crimes, both on the victims and the wider community, was devastating.
When the verdict was finally delivered, Beasley was sentenced to life in prison without parole, ensuring he would never harm another person. But the relief was bittersweet. The families of his victims were left to grieve lives stolen too soon,
and the haunting knowledge that these crimes had been preventable lingered. Law enforcement and the courts hoped that this case would serve as a warning, a reminder that predators often operate under the guise of normalcy and that vigilance is crucial. The chilling story of the Craigslist killer became a case study in the dangers of trust, manipulation, and the deadly power of a seemingly innocent opportunity. Even today, the story of Beasley remains a cautionary tale. Fake job offers, strangers who seem trustworthy, and sudden disappearances continue to terrify families across the U.S. The lessons of this case, to question, to observe, to protect oneself, are as relevant now as they were in 2011. And while justice was served, the memory of the lives he stole remains. The trap has been closed, but the fear it inspired will linger, reminding everyone that even ordinary opportunities can hide extraordinary danger. The abductor's trap had finally been exposed, the predator captured, and justice served. But the story does not end there. Every missing person, every suspicious ad, and every unanswered phone call is a potential warning. Beasley's crimes remind us that danger can hide in the most ordinary places, waiting for a single misstep. The question remains, could the next victim be anywhere, even now? And that chilling thought is why this story continues to resonate, haunting the minds of all who hear it. Even after Richard Beasley was behind bars, the aftermath of his crimes continued to ripple through Ohio and beyond. Families struggled with the pain of losing loved ones to a predator who had lured them with the simplest of promises, a fake job, a chance for a better life. Survivors like John Sturgeon carried both trauma and courage. He spoke publicly about his experience, warning others about trusting strangers too quickly, even when opportunities seem real. His story became a lifeline for anyone who might encounter a similar trap, showing that awareness and quick thinking can save lives.
Law enforcement agencies also learned invaluable lessons. The case highlighted the dangers lurking in everyday life and the ways predators manipulate trust. Police began developing better protocols for investigating disappearances and analyzing online job offers that could be dangerous. Communities held workshops and awareness programs, educating people about the risks of online interactions, especially with strangers who seemed friendly or professional. The horror of Beasley's crimes became a catalyst for change, showing that vigilance and knowledge are crucial weapons against abduction. Even though justice was served in court, the fear and tension from Beasley's spree left lasting scars. Families of victims grieved, survivors recovered slowly, and the public learned a chilling truth. A predator can operate in plain sight, hiding behind ordinary activities and everyday opportunities. But from tragedy came hope. Stories like John's and the investigations into Beasley's methods reminded everyone that courage, awareness, and action can prevent further harm. And while the nightmare of the abductor's trap is over, the lessons remain. If you want to stay alert to the darkest true crime stories and learn how ordinary people have survived extraordinary danger, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Every week, we uncover real crimes, chilling investigations, and stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Don't miss out. Subscribe now and join our community of viewers who stay informed, stay safe, and stay fascinated by the real-life cases you won't find anywhere else. Your next story could teach you how to spot danger before it's too late.